Hey, welcome to another episode of Electrical Theology. I'm your host, Charles, and this is Esoteric Life Coaching, where we learn everything about the esoteric. And what is esoteric? It's just the hidden secrets that are in plain sight, both externally in your world and internally, things that we hide from ourselves. And tarot is what we've been teaching lately, and what I've been doing in changing up the script. For the first few months, I taught you the foundations of the esoteric, from remote viewing, subconscious, the dimensionals, manifesting, and what helps us sort of hone in and wake up every day and go, okay, what's my purpose? Why am I here? The tarot is basically an end result, if you will, to a manifested form of the esoteric. It gives us a place to start with every day that says, hey, what's going on with my life? Right? Because we can go to bed scattered, wake up scattered, we can have our whole day scattered, distracted. And so this is the tarot, the practice of tarot is just to help you hone in and focus in for the day. So do you a tarot reading in the morning or one at night? Again, tarot is just a Torah. It's a religious practice in one sense, but I don't look at it from that sense. I look at it more from a point of focus to help me manifest, to help me eliminate distractions. Anyway, today what we're going to do is just go over basic readings, because this week has been about doing the basic steps of tarot. Because every day I'm going to bring you tarot readings. Some days, if I feel that it's going to be an extended one, then I'll say, hey, this is an extended video. And you can go over, click the links, and we'll continue those videos if it's something you want to continue to hear or get more in-depth information about. So if you want to, if you are doing tarot, if you have a deck, go ahead and get those out. I'll pause for a few seconds. And then right now we're not doing extensive spreads. You can have 5, 10 decks. You can have crystals. You can have the astrology. You can have everything. You can have the I Ching. You can all go into a reading. But the first thing is just get you a deck of cards. And it could be regular playing cards, right? But just get you a nice basic set of tarot, one that just is you're drawn to. I don't care if it's the artist or if it's the color or the size. Just go ahead and grab a pack when you're out, or if you want to order one if you don't have one. And just go ahead and order it and get it, and then just get familiar with it. Now, we don't need to necessarily know right now at this stage that I'm teaching everything about tarot, because it's a continuous study for your entire life. And because the more you understand tarot, the more you understand about your life, the more then you want to understand more, or the more you understand. So the more you understand, the more knowledge you gain, the more you want to know about that knowledge. So it's a never-ending thing. So there comes a point where you start serving your community. And part of what I love to do is just do mediumship, tarot, any of the ancient arts, I Ching, the Thartuk. There's just so many different fun things. You just got to find the one that helps you divine, right? A divining rod, if you will, to find water, divine flowing water within a person's life to help them see where they are and see if they want to reframe their life. And these little frames, right? These 74, 70, 80, it just depends on what kind of deck you have. These are just reframing tools. It helps us reframe our thoughts. There's no hard and fast rules to tarot. You got people out there that are religious about it, and kudos to them, right? For me, it's a point of focus to help us get concentrated, so then we can download the cosmic information. Or even if you don't even buy into any of that, you're just helping yourself focus, right? It's much like washing dishes or playing Sudoku or crossword puzzles, right? We do it for some reason. It helps us focus. It helps us maybe distract ourselves and then allow that answer that we've been looking for to call to us. And so those who've got your decks, if not, just follow along and that's okay. And today I'm going to give you just a simple way without even having to know what the tarot means. Right? We don't need to know all these things. We can just look at the cards themselves, and they're going to tell us a story. So today we're just going to write a story. And we're going to keep it simple. So for me, a lot of times I just sit here and I just flip the card, and a lot of times some just flip out on them on their own, or it's a card that just wants to come out. So, see, it just flips out. So the first one we get, right? Six of Swords. Swords, right? What do you do with swords? See, I don't need to know anything about someone else's definition about this card. I want you to focus in on what you think this card means, or what you feel, or what grabbed your attention. What was the first thing? Was it the swords? Was it the light in the center? Right? What was the first thing that grabbed your attention? Was it the pink bowl below? Right? Or understanding that there's six of these things that are all pointing in the same direction. It's pointing toward light. Right? So we're beginning to tell a story. So just like any story, it has a beginning, and there's normally three parts to the beginning. We call them arcs. And then you have the body of the story, and there's three sort of arcs, or three different chapters within that. And then you have sort of the outcome, and there's three different arcs or chapters to that. So we're just going to create those three arcs and chapters today and see if that story tells you anything interesting. All right? The Six of Swords. Swords, you got to remember, are all left brain. It's thinking. Right? It's empirical. It's factual. It's statistical. It's very scientific. Right? So right now we have some swords. Because again, what's the word? The word is mightier than the sword. Right? We have a lot of things. Swords. What do you do with the sword? You can cut. You can fight. You can defend. See, so we don't really need to understand the essence of this. From the traditional, we just need to see what your story says, because we're just reflecting what this thing says. So in essence, and I try to boil it down to just a few words or one word once I look at it, stare at it for a while. I can say that these swords are... So I want you to look at that for a second. And does it appear to you that the swords are being drawn in to the light? In essence, is the logic being drawn into the light, divine light? Right? Or are the swords cutting crystal fruit and placing them in the bowl? Right? A bowl is a receptive. Right? It's a receptor. So whatever one that is for you, just take note of that. For me, it's sort of like the swords. The logic is picking out the good stuff. Right? So right now, it tells us some, but it doesn't tell us a lot. So let's go ahead, and again, I just sit here and I just keep going until a card flips out. Right? Or one wants to fight its way out. Right? Or it could be two or three cards. So we're just quickly, and I can go slow, but because these videos, I don't want to take them too long. So now we get another sword, Five of Swords. And you can observe right now, is that a happy picture? Sad picture? Does that look like victory? Does it look like defeat, as the card itself says? So right now we have two swords. So there's a lot of thinking going on in someone's life, right? A lot of Aquarian energy. We're coming into the new year, so I can look at this and say, okay, what am I thinking about coming into the new year? Right? We only have a couple months left in this year, right? And you may be looking towards something. So there's a lot of thinking going on. In one sense, this thinking looks pretty good. It's bright. I don't get anything negative from this picture. It's a beautiful picture. I'm trying to get to the essence of what it is my thinking for why it is I'm thinking. And I'm trying to get something. And I'm getting some nice crystal vision, if you will. But what's happening is my thoughts are competing with each other. Right? They're defeating one another. So let's go and throw another card out. Nope, 2 of them popped out. 3 of them. Awesome. So because this is 8 of Cups. 8 of Cups is, in essence, all you see, all the cups are spilling. There's darkness to it. Cups are about receiving, but they're being emptied out. It's like a drunken party, right? It's an after effect of a party. And because you're overthinking and you're not receiving, your cups are there to catch, just like the first card. Right? I'm trying to get to the essence of something. Right? I'm trying to get the best thoughts. Right? Because somewhere I'm being defeated. I'm defeating myself. It's always about myself and about me. That's the esoteric. I'm trying to pull out the essence of me. And I've looked at a bunch of different things, but none of these cups are filling my joy. See what I'm saying? I'm not getting something. And that's sort of Pisces. And if you're a Pisces, then you may be experiencing something in yourself right now that you've tried a lot of things and nothing's really bringing you that joy. It's like sort of drinking for the first time. You get that buzz, right? And you're like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. Yeah, you drink a little too much, you wake up with a hangover. Days go by, you drink it again, but it doesn't have the same initial effect. It's like the first kiss, right? You can never have another first kiss. But then we can look at another 8 that's coming up. 8 of Wands. See, now that's sort of like our first picture. Right? We got a lot of light, we got a lot of bright. The swords, in one sense, are all in order, and so are these wands. They're all focused in a certain order, and they're all lit. It's like they're leaving the wands themselves. The wands themselves are, if you will, that's a planet. We'll just say it looks like a planet, right? And it's bright, beautiful light, growth. And these light beings are traveling from that planet and going to another planet to bring that light and wisdom, if you will, and knowledge to other planets. Or this could be souls that are leaving a planet. And so this can be a lot of old stuff that you've released out of your life and it's leaving now. So we can make up whatever stories we want. But what we want to do is like a regular sentence or paragraph that has parts. Nouns, verbs, adverbs, predicate nominatives, all this fun stuff. And then the card, this is an equivalent to hangman, alchemist. You see these 2 gigantic towers. So we have swords, towers, cups, right? So we have thoughts that we feel like we're defeated because we have these. We want to get to this thought. We want to get to picking out the best thoughts, right? Because we're having defeat or thoughts that aren't working. This could be depression. This could be anger, frustration, blame, right? So we're trying to get to a good thought, but we're not receiving it, right? Because maybe we're thinking logically, and we're thinking logically because of the swords, and trying to get the swords to answer our heart questions, right? So really, our thoughts sometimes get in the way, but they are good at cutting through the BS, but eventually the answer comes from the heart. That's where you're going to hear the answers are in the heart, not the head. Now, logically, you can hear stuff. When you count the 3 in your head, not out loud, you still hear it, but you don't hear it. There's nothing audible about what you're hearing, but it's there. Count 1 to 5 in your head. Where is that coming from? So when we ask the questions, they're sort of coming from the head, and that's prayer, and then the heart is meditation. We need to open and receive, but this 8 of Cups, we're not receiving it because we're staying too logical. Too logical. We can think of something, that's great, but when we overthink and don't get out of the thinking process and be quiet and meditate, we need to open up the heart. right? But the heart, for whatever reason, has been damaged, broken, stepped on, betrayed, right? So you're reluctant, right, to try it again. Alchemy, right? I'm getting some sense that this has to do about a relationship, right? Your relationship with money, because this is logic. I'm not seeing a lot of hearts here. I'm not seeing a lot of I say that, and for of course, what comes out is mother, right? Nurturing. So if we start putting our sentence together, we sort of have 6, 5, 8, 8, 12, and Mother of Wands, which is 13 in the deck. So we can look at the numbers as well as this and sort of do some numerology, but today we don't want to. We just want to practice here today is filling these cards out, is looking at your cards, not from the memorization of tarot, but what are you seeing and feeling and hearing and touching and all that stuff about these cards, right? So I can just look at that. Oh, the first card's pretty. The second one's, it looks like there was a battle. It's been a long day. There's a star, if you will, at the top of this. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a star, right? The star is about healing, reconnection, right? Disaster. This looks like it was a disastrous battle. And this disaster is just dis and aster. It means you've been disconnected from the aster or the star energy, right? This, in essence, is star energy. This is star energy. You see how it's going to the heavens, right? So part of where our answers come from are from the ancestors of the heavens. And so there may be someone on the other side that's trying to get your attention, but you're not paying attention, right? Because you're overthinking, because you feel that you're not, you feel you're alone and disconnected. But what the mother card lets us know is that mothers are creators, right? They're the ones who create a child. And so as energetically speaking, you create your own brainchild, if you will. Right? So right now, are you hearing sort of a theme to the story? We're wondering sort of what's the outcome of this story, right? And if you're like, well, I'm still not really hearing a lot, right? I'm hearing that I'm overthinking and it's causing some trouble. I'm trying to think of what my next step is in life. What new nugget do I want to pull out of that mental gold mine, right, in life? And then the cups. I've tried many things before and filled them up and done them, been there, done that, but now I'm bored. What's next? Right? So I have to get my thoughts, my creativity in order. Right? That's order. All those things are going in a one direction. Right? So the light's going in one direction within you. You want your light in life to point one way because some of us, we've been on this planet for a few decades and we've done a lot of stuff, felt joy, but then there's something that there's one thing that's missing, right? And that's going to be of service because we've done so much stuff, but we want to do more. But part of our legacy is to leave behind, if you will, to others what we've gained. Not that what we've gained is good or bad, but it's just knowledge. And somebody out there is always seeking knowledge. And if we can give them a decent story book that we leave behind, right, it can help them out. So we begin to, if you're having trouble what your next direction is, look in the arms of service, right? So let's sort of get one more layer, if you will. Yeah, there they pop out. Let's get one more. Nope, they're going to give us two more. 3 more. Awesome. Now today, cards, because I do cards in all directions. Just like energy or water, it all goes one direction, but we can split that water off and make it go the opposite way just through gravity. So let's look at some of the cards we got here. So I got 3 of Wands, I have 9 of Swords, more swords, right? In our story, when we're trying to find what we want to do next in life, when we're overthinking it, right? That 5 of Swords we got, we can become very good at what we were. I know that sounds weird, but let's say you've been really good at your job. You've been the big fish in the small pond for a while, right? But you're still seeking something more, something to satisfy your soul. And again, that's going to be of service to others. What happens is when you're getting bored and frustrated, but yet you're not willing to go outside that small pond, you end up projecting your own frustrations and indirections as misdirected energy. And that's when it becomes cruel, right? 9 of Swords is a very cruel. It's anxiety. It's what if you're standing there and it's dark, or we'll call it a storm coming in, and there's 9 people or just 9 swords coming at you, what's your first impression of that? Right? Is it a fear of death? Right? Are you afraid to die? Right? What was your first impression when those 9 swords are coming at you? Right? Everyone's going to have their own answer, right? You got to come up with your own answer. Take note of that, what that answer was, or what that feeling was, right? You didn't think about it; you felt 9 swords coming at you, right? So if you're still stuck in the overthinking process, it's just going to turn into cruelty to others, right? And then what will happen is that we end up getting the Tower. Now the Tower, these are cards with pictures on them. You can make them whatever you want. Right? But the Tower, right, and it looks like it's being destroyed, right, by light. You see that light coming into it like a lightning bolt. So the Tower is coming down. Right? So the Tower in itself is an antenna or a channel of thinking. Right? If you had a direct connection from your mind to Mars, and that got severed, right? That tower has been disconnected. That was able to transmit and transfer knowledge back and forth, right? Look at it as if your cell phone. You don't pay your cell phone bill, and your phone gets cut off in today's time, right? You got all your apps, all your contacts, right? Because we don't memorize numbers anymore. How do you feel if that phone's lost or gone or stolen, right? What if the tower goes down? How can you contact your loved ones, right? So it creates, in our story here, that if you keep overthinking and get nasty about it and start misdirecting your energy in other people, right, that tower is going to implode. And so all these connections you have are going to be disconnected, which brings us back to the disaster. It's disaster. We're disconnecting from our higher selves or our esoteric internal self. Right? And we're relying, and so what happens is, think of this as the cell phone being lost or cut off, or your credit cards, or your contacts, the way you do business today, your calendars, right? What is your first initial feeling if your phone's gone? Right? So it's set in fear. Right? So are you overcompensating or over-connecting, right, to something that if that thing goes, be it a person, a place, a thing, if that thing goes, how are you going to feel? Right? So what that tower card is going to do, once it disconnects, it's going to have you, again, thinking. Right? Now this is 1 of Swords. right? An ace of swords. Aces are beginnings, right? 1, 2, it's a 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? When the tower goes down, then there's going to be a brand new thought, right? A new way of thinking. And going, okay, what if the cell tower went down? What if my job went away? What if this partner died or left me or betrayed me? Right? You're left with you. And what these things do is help us mirror, right, who we are. And that's going to help you understand your answer that you're trying to think or overthink. Right? It's going to help you get to a point where it's like, okay, what if this person wasn't here? What if I didn't have the job? Who am I and why am I here on this earth to serve? Or why am I here? Right? You've done what you need to do. Now, if you're really young, this could easily be that, it could be a new direction. If you're in your young 20s, what's your career? Do you go to college? Right? Do you go get a job? What's the job do you get? In today's environment, there's really no one job you have for 30 years. You got to have 4 or 5 of them going. And for what reason and for what point? Right? We had the Mother of Wands, and here we have the Mother of Cups, or the Daughter of Cups. You see that there's rainbows, right? This is a pretty picture, right? We have that picture and that picture. Which one do you want to live? Right? Defeat or calm seas, right? So most of us are at a point right now where we're having to create. Wands are about creation, right? If you have a wand, what are you doing with it, right? You're casting spells, you're basically casting spells, right? Be it defensive or offensive or whatever. So here you have 2 different decisions, right? Both of these decisions is when you finally take what you've been thinking and overthinking and misdirecting thinking and begin to open up and listen to your heart. And when that heart is where you're going to hear your answer, you're going to feel the answer. You don't feel in your brain, you feel in the heart. Right? Your cosmic heart. And when it's come time to finally make the decision, right, the decision has to be, and we can look at this as one final card, is what's the outcome of all this, right? What's the conclusion to our story? What's the climax, right? So so we went through, and we'll break the story down one more time. All right, we just got a whole host of things that want to come out. So we have the outcome is sunny. The Sun card is almost completion to our story because it's in 3 arcs, right? I'm just going to move those up. So the outcome of our story basically is that we did things an old way, right? We're tapping into the realms of expanding consciousness up there. We're bringing a marriage of sort of our heart and minds together. Right? And this is going to have you being yourself. This is a brand new start. Right? Does that look like he's logically thinking? No, that's a heart-based expression. Right? And what that does is because it leads to a rebirth. Right? You're going to hear the call from the heavens. Look at the horns up top. And it's going to rain down manna, if you will. Right? So this is awesome for those who are open to receiving, right? I can see great things coming for you. So let's sort of tell our Hollywood story here. So we got ourselves into a situation where we're trying to make a career, whatever that decision was, health, wealth, or love. And that thinking was sort of disastrous, right? The star, we disconnected from that. We battled ourselves, and we ended up getting defeated, right? And so we weren't feeling, our heart wasn't being filled with joy because we were looking at life from a logical standpoint. we had to put things in order, our life in order, our thoughts in order, our heart in order, right? We had to start speaking up for ourselves, right? We had to um, set boundaries of what we were allowing others to do to us, right? And what we were doing to ourselves. So we didn't know what we didn't know, and once we were defeated, we got defeated. Why? It's not the person who defeated us. If anything, those who defeat us, and after doing martial arts for a few decades as well, I didn't like it when I was beat because I was mad at myself. But I never directed my anger toward my opponent. You know what I'm saying? Because they taught me where my weakness was. Now, I may have not liked them in that moment, right? But if you watch a boxing match, what do the boxers do? They go and hug each other afterwards. When a football team beats another football team, you see them fighting and scrimmaging, all this stuff. But afterwards, they're all hugging each other, talking to each other, right? So as our story goes on, then we know that we have to create what works for us, not for anyone else, but what works for us, right? We had to look at what worked in the past, but what do we want to do? We want to create our own tradition, right? Do you want to do holidays every season, or do you want to go to the Bahamas? Is that your new holiday? And by doing so, you're able to be yourself. And as the story goes on, you rebirth. Right? You become you're a brand new person. Now, what do you do with this new way? Well, that's a new choice. It's about creating. The old way was about what we were taught to do. Go be a lawyer, a doctor, whatever, right? Here's your career, right? Following your parents' footsteps. Odd fact is that however much your parents made, you'll be more apt to make that same amount. So if you don't like the amount of money your parents are making, then do something different than what your parents did, even though they may be telling you, do it, do it. It created a great life for us, right? But if they're in debt and a mortgage and they're not happy and they're bitching about life, then is that what you need to follow? So you need to set your own boundaries. So you went on other people's paths, it didn't work out, you got your ass kicked, and then you finally figured out who you are, or beginning to figure out who you are, then you're making your own choices, right? And not being cruel to others because you're still using the old thinking, right? Because if you continue down the same path, it's going to be destructive. You will again be defeated. And so it's about reconnection. Right? We talked about reconnection because we were disconnected in one sense, because we weren't living our life. We weren't coming from our heart and unfolding our moments. And then we begin to think for ourselves. So where we're all right now is we're beginning to think for ourselves, because literally your cosmic cell phone was taken from you, or is being taken from you. The effects of this is that our governments around the world are taking things from you. Now, if they take these things from you, be it your freedom, are you prepared? Right? Are you ready to create your own thoughts, or are you going to keep relying on them for your lifestyle? Right? And so the conclusion of this outcome, of you finally becoming yourself, is that, right, you have a marriage, and that marriage is your heart and mind. Physically, I can do this reading, and this reading can be about a couple I see. The couple could be, it started out great, and this could be a couple in business, this could be partnerships in life, this could be twin flames, this could be a lot of different things. But again, today was just about just throwing your cards out, looking at all the details of the cards, and just picking a couple words, write those out. Say, okay, this is about some swords, picking out some jewels. Right? I'm trying to pick out some jewels in my life. Right? Great. You go throw another card down, and then that card's going to come out. Right? And then write some words about that. It's sort of like Mad Libs. You give a bunch of questions, you answer, and all of a sudden you get a story. So this, in essence, this is all your life. These are representation. How you describe these cards is how you describe what's going on with you. So globally, what's going out in this world is things are changing, and they're changing fast. If you watch my videos in the last couple of days, things are changing very fast. And the way you've been communicating is going to be taken from you. If you were communicated through a $100 bill at a store, they're not going to accept that communication anymore. Does that make sense? If you don't have certain jabs, that a business requires in your income, you have no income. right? So different things are happening, so you're going to have to recreate your life. And you start creating from what's going to be your lifestyle. And now in here, oddly enough, we didn't get really any pinnacles, which is money, right? Because it's not really about money. We need to get away from money and have money not dictate our emotions or our thoughts. It's about freeing yourself from whatever that, because the whole financial system is about to change, right? And the way money's handed out, the way government's going to control it even more, right? And then they're going to restrict what you can and cannot buy. I mean, they sort of already do it, right? If you're at a certain age, you can't buy certain things, right? If you're on government handouts, then you only have so much you can buy, right? So it's going to get more restrictive because more and more stuff's happening in the world. Again, not fear mongering, it's just preparing. Start thinking for yourselves where you allowing others to cross over your boundaries. And are you ready to create and listen to your own path, your own heart, by listening to your own heart, right? So there's the story, right? And again, this is just a basic reading of just reading the story. This is chapter, right? We had, instead of 3 arcs, you can have a 5-arc story in the introduction. I can then have the body of the story, and then I can have the conclusion, if you will, the climax and the conclusion. All right? So it's looking like things are going to change, and they are changing, but you're not sure where to go right now, and that's okay in life. All right? It's to listen to the heart, right? Feel the heart. The heart normally does not have words, it has feelings, and the feelings you can interpret into words through the brain. But right now, you're not going to solve the answers by thinking about it. It's about feeling. All right, guys, that's all I got for you today. Won't be an extended today, but I will be getting into the extended because there's a lot. But right now, I'm still teaching of how to lay out spreads. And again, there's a ton of them. Tomorrow we'll do another reading, and then next week we'll do readings every single day, as much as I can. And then if you like this stuff, definitely thumbs up. Leave a comment if there's anything that's not clear or what you want more of. And then share this with your friends if this was helpful to you, all right? I appreciate you showing in. Look at the links below and see if there's anything that interests you, all right? Thanks.